invite Anjali, who's part of the organizing team, to introduce Meenakshi. Anjali is an IIT Bombay alum. She's a senior director of business system at DocuSign. She has about 28 years of industry experience and has previously worked at LinkedIn and HPE as IT engineering heads. And she volunteers and supports a non-profit for low-income students called Minds Matter. Anjali and Meenakshi have known each other, I think, since 2015. I may be wrong, but Anjali will correct it. So I think they helped organize Pan IIT's first women's career event. With that, let me welcome Anjali.
See me. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm thrilled to introduce Meenakshi Kaul-Basu. She's a good friend of mine, and as Ishita said, I was part of her team when she organized the first women's conference, first IIT Women's Conference in 2015, right here. Meenakshi is the founding president of the IIT-Bay Area Alumni Association. She's an IIT Kharagpur graduate and also a graduate from ISC Bangalore. She has had a long career as a technology leader in several companies in India as well as in the US. And not only she is a technology leader, can you believe it? She was the first woman who was elected to be GSEC of sport at IIT Kharagpur, and was the first woman among all the IITs in this election. She is very passionate about getting more women or more girls into STEM, and she volunteers to mentor high schoolers and as well as women professionals in their earlier career. And on the weekends, if she's not hiking, you'll see her biking on her orange bike. And I was just amazed to hear it also on her orange motorbike. So that's pretty amazing, Meenakshi. So join all of us to invite Meenakshi to the stage. Thanks.
Thank you, Anjali, for that introduction and for a very warm welcome. I would like to take a moment to actually thank Swapnil, who may not, I haven't seen her here today, Ishita as well as Nidhi for inviting me to come and speak at this event today. It's like coming back home. Bay Area Alumni Association, I think, is a really important organization for us here to bring all the IITians and their families and others to come together. We have a very common purpose here. So thank you again. Today, I have the honor and privilege to introduce, to have a fireside chat with Shalini, who is a very well-known, who's a friend of mine and a very well-known leader here, woman leader here in the Bay Area. She has over 25 years of experience in technology and consumer space. She's a sought-after thought leader in how to scale businesses using digital technologies, including AI and new age media. Shalini is currently the general manager and vice president of TV at Google, responsible for the company's TV strategy. Previously, Shalini was the senior director of technology solutions at YouTube. And prior to that, she was the technical director at Pixar, launching blockbuster films like The Toy Story and A Bug's Life. And she also serves as a non-exec director for the board of YouGov, a market research and a data analytics firm. Welcome, Shalini. I thought it would be good for us to kind of level set and get a good understanding of what does this mean. In my opinion, it's about having a leader, or the best way I could describe, it's a leadership approach for someone who has the vision, someone who has a clear idea, is inspiring and is future-looking, and has a really good idea what they want their community, their team, their organization, how they would like to guide them towards a future direction. So this is basically how I recognize this. So I would actually like to begin this conversation with Shalini to explore leadership strategies, leadership qualities, the strategic foresight and the vision, and how you have been adaptive to changes in the environment that we work in is very dynamic. I mean, you have like all kinds of stuff that happens, and how do you actually adapt to those changes as a leader? You have a vision, but things happen. What do you do next? This is going to be a very conversational style discussion, and I'd like you to think about questions. I would like to structure it in about 20 minutes for us to have a conversation and 10 minutes for us to ask questions. So let me go ahead and begin by a couple of questions that I set out with. So the first thing I'd like to begin with is trying to get your understanding of what you see the vision of how do you see vision in the context of leadership? And I would like you to also share with us some personal anecdotes and stories about this.
Well, thank you, Meenakshi, and thank you for inviting me for this Fireside Chat. Very excited to meet all of you, and hope I did spend some time chatting with many of you, but I hope to meet all of you over the next few hours. In terms of leadership, I would say three things, starting with first the vision itself, right? Like where do you think the world is headed, and what are you going to do about it? I think that I always start with that. Like, what is my premise for where I see the world going, and what I'm going to do to shape it? And you talk about anecdotes. My entire career has been based on what do I want to do and where do I think the world should head. So even like beginning with Pixar animation, which, Meenakshi, at that time, no one knew Pixar. Of course, everyone knows it now, and if you have kids, you definitely know Pixar. But at that time, no one knew it. When I graduated, all my friends were joining Oracle, and they were joining, SAP, I think, was beginning to take traction. And so that was the done thing. Like, you graduated from computer science and you joined one of these enterprise companies, and everyone was making a lot of money doing that. But I didn't want to do that. Like, for me, like, my vision was I really wanted to be part of entertainment. I really wanted to see how technology could shape that. And already I had started seeing these little clips that Pixar, a tiny little company that no one knew about, was starting to make in terms of tin toy, and it was really, all of us are engineers, so we know, like, it was really basic shapes. It was like spheres and cones, and they were just like shoving them together and creating little stories with it. And I was like, wow, like, what if we could create entire movies using that technology? And so that was really like my vision, that is the vision that I want to personally carve and make happen. And so then I followed my dreams. I joined Pixar. That was itself a long process, but once I got in, I was really, really happy to produce Toy Story and A Bug's Life, and that was kind of my defining stamp of my vision, that's where I wanted to see the world of entertainment move. And fast forward to today, I'd say every movie that's computer animated is done through computer graphics. None of them are hand-drawn anymore, which was the thing at that time. None of them are clay animations anymore. It's all computer graphics. And even live action films, if you think about it, more and more they're computer generated. In fact, there was a stat that I was just reading, which is, it used to be live action was 100% live action, and it was just post-production that was done through computers, but now it's 50% is actually computers If you think of a Marvel story, you can understand what that means, right? Marvels are usually 70%. So that's number one, is really, what is your vision? Where do you want to take it? And then following that through and impacting the world through that. Number two is, as you start getting teams and you're like driving a team forward, part of that vision is, what is the story you're telling your team so that they're following you through that vision? And so if I think about YouTube, which was the next phase of my journey, when we acquired YouTube at Google, it was really just cats playing pianos. I don't know if many of you even remember that, but that's what it was. It was cats playing pianos. Yep. And, we acquired it, and Eric Schmidt was like, how are we ever going to make money out of this thing? But we still spent $1 billion acquiring it, because there was just something there. And for me, the vision was, when I was at Pixar, we were making movies, but we were very dependent on the theatrical release cycle. And then you had to buy theater space, you had to be dependent on Disney to be the middleman for you. But what if, the internet could totally open up everyone to be a storyteller, and everyone to be able to go and create animations or live actions and put them up for the world to consume? How would that world look like? And so that was the story that we were telling at YouTube. That was my story. That was, anyone can be a creator, and anyone can tell their stories and put up content on YouTube. And that was the vision that we ran with, and that was the story that our teams kind of followed too. And fast forward to today, of course it was a bunch of technology, but it was also a bunch of business models that we really disrupted in terms of how do you attribute the right content to the right people so that right people are getting incentivized to actually promote content, get paid back for it, including music labels, music publishers, etc. So I think that I think is the second part of leadership, is really, what is the story that you're telling, and how are teams inspired by that story and following you through it? So that's number two. And then number three, Meenakshi, is, as you get teams and as you're leading big efforts, how are you staying true to your story and your narrative while pivoting? We talked about pivots. How are you staying true to what you stand for, but also pivoting along the way, because the world is never a straight A to B, right? We all know it's never, I start here and I know exactly where I'm going to go and I'm just going to follow that path. It's always pivoting through it, but staying true to your mission. And, so that's the third part, I think, with leadership.
No, that's fantastic. While, YouTube is a really good example where, eventually people got it. So, if you had a vision and you were trying to communicate that, it makes it so much easier. But can you give us an example also of a situation where you had a vision and you were trying your best to get the entire team to follow you? How did you actually make sure that you could communicate this vision clearly to the different stakeholders? You have, of course, your team, you have execs that you would be trying to get buy-in from, and stakeholders that you're getting buy-in from, and other people like that. Do you have any thoughts that you would want to share?
Yeah, I think, Ishita was just talking about the soft skills, and, that's a huge part of leadership and getting people's buy-in. I like to think of it in terms of storytelling, and I'm a storyteller, of course, I'm from Pixar, so I have to be a storyteller. But, storytelling is not just for movies, and it's really present in your everyday life as a leader, as a communicator. What is the story that you're telling, so that when you have those one-on-ones that Ishita was just talking about with people, how are they resonating with you? It's really important to understand that, if I go to Sundar, how do I tell a story that he is inspired by, and he can say, yes, Shalini, that makes sense. For example, when I started Google TV at Google, no one was thinking about TVs. Honestly, other than YouTube, no one at Google was thinking about TVs, because it was just everyone has a phone and everyone has a tablet, so who really cares about TVs? But really the story I was telling him was, even today, if you go back home, the area that most families want to hang out in is in the living room in front of the big screen. And the data shows it, the YouTube data, we are at YouTube now, more than 50% of consumption is actually coming from TV. Netflix is more than 75%. And so that's the story that I had to have Sundar understand. Whereas if I go to an executive who's a peer of mine, for example, Neil Mohan at YouTube, my story is, well, Neil, like, how are you going to grow YouTube if you cannot grow Google TV? And so then how do we partner together? So those are like the stories that you have to kind of be thinking about is who's my audience, what will resonate with them, and then how do I bring it to life so that they get why they should be doing something that I want them to do or that we want to be collaborating on.
Thank you. That's a fantastic example. I also wanted to spend some time on discussing you talked about it briefly about how you set a vision, but you have to be adaptive to those changes. How do you maintain a clear vision in the face of all these uncertainties and rapidly changing environment around you? I'm sure you have a lot of examples from Google, while you were working in YouTube or others. Just wanted to pick your brains on that.
Yeah, I think that all of us probably have a lot of examples of pivoting, and for some of you who are starting your careers, some of you I've met, I hear this frustration sometimes from my team, like, oh my gosh, like everything seems to be changing every quarter, and some of it is that's how technology is changing so fast. Like we're all like in this realm of generative AI. I'm sure you cannot go into any room these days without hearing it and saying, what are we going to do about it? And that's just how technology is, right? Like you never know what's the next thing that's coming. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. And sometimes you know it's coming, but you don't know when it's going to hit you. So I think that's something we all have to get used to every day. So don't get frustrated if you feel like, oh my gosh, like yesterday my boss told me to do this and today they're telling me to do that. It's because everything is changing so fast. And so that's number one, is always being proactive about understanding where the changes are coming from, but then adapting to it. I think that for me, for our teams, what I tell them is we need to be always innovating and thinking of innovations. And then some of them are going to fail, and some of them are going to stick to the wall. So like, it's almost like someone gave me this example of you take a spaghetti ball and you throw it on the wall, and some of it's going to stick and some of it is going to fall. And really, you want to do that quickly. But you always want to be trying things because otherwise you're going to get stale, because that's how technology works. And so, for example, on Google TV, we started with the premise of, we don't want to get onto TV and just see a grid of apps. Like, that's not what we want. Like, this is not a phone. We want to be surfacing content that people really want to watch. And so how do we pull that content out of the apps and really bring them front and center? That was our premise, and it's all done through AI. But over the last 2 years, we were like not really innovating, and then this whole generative AI wave kind of hit us. And so how do we stay true to that mission of helping people still find relevant content, which is what they want to do, but how do we use this next wave of generative AI to really pivot ourselves to be able to adapt to it? So that's really like how I think about, staying true to your ultimate mission, but then pivoting around as new technologies come your way, new consumer habits come your way, and then being able to adapt your product to that.
That's great. One question that comes to my mind is, this example that you gave where you throw a ball, it either sticks or it doesn't, and so
spaghetti ball.
You basically fail fast. How do you motivate your team in such situations? Because there are some who are going to have impact and some who are not going to have the impact. How do you motivate these people?
Yeah, in general, I find that most technology folks love innovation and they love to experiment. So I haven't found it hard to motivate them necessarily. I think it's providing a framework for them to be able to innovate in. And so the classic framework at Google has been the 80-20 rule, which we've really taken to heart. And that's, if you haven't heard of it, it's really 80% of your job should be spending time on the core work, aka making money, if that's always part of our business, right? None of us are in nonprofits, or at least most of us are not in nonprofits. But then 20% of your job is to really be thinking about current innovations and adapting them to the platform. And so we really take that to heart and we really make room for it and time for it. With the generative AI wave, which was a big pivot for us, it was really, what I challenged my team is, every week I want to see 3 new experiments that we're running. And let's see how they take on. And I'm personally going to be involved. So every week we would sit, people would come up with ideas, some of my engineers would code them, very quick coding, prototyping, and let's kind of see what we should be looking at as a next step for it. That was hugely motivating for the team, just to see that the leader is involved, the leader is interested in this pivot, and that's just taken its life of its own. Now we're kind of like trying to figure out how do we make sure that we don't have everyone going rogue and making sure that we're still, accomplish what we want to do with our business.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Shifting gears a little to also understanding how you empower teams, how you empower your team, so you help set a vision. Rather than being a hands-on person monitoring everything that's happening, how do you make sure that the team actually takes ownership of the vision that you've put together and makes it their own and runs with it? How do you actually do that?
Meenakshi, I think that's a hard question, and it really depends a lot on the situation and where you are. I think all of you must have read about founder mode. That was the big thing over the last month, where founder mode is like the person is involved like a founder and deeply entrenched and doing everything themselves and being responsible for everything. And truly you cannot scale like that, right? Like it's great in a startup area, but to scale, you can't be involved in everything. And at the same time, there are some times where you do have to be involved with everything. So I give the Google TV example that I was just talking about. Once the team is kind of settled, this is the business, we know exactly what we're doing. It's not my job then to be telling people every day, like this is how you should be doing X, Y, Z. They kind of have their directions and they know their marching orders. I've kind of cleared things for them. And so I would empower them to drive.
So you give them space for innovation in that sense?
Definitely. And at the same time, like I said, when we started this generative AI journey for our teams, it was very new and very scary, and really there were lots of questions on how we're going to be able to do it. And so then I'm personally involved. And like I said, every week I'm reviewing with the team, what are we doing? How are we doing it? What is the right set of challenges to be addressing? So maybe that's a founder mode thing where I'm involved in. So I feel like people have to balance, leaders have to balance at all times. Sometimes it's only you who can really drive things, and then sometimes, no, you're not really needed. You can step back and let the team get empowered. So I think just finding that right balance is really how I've always done it.
Sounds great. I wanted to shift gear to also try and understand some key personal habits or traits that have actually been your friend for life in helping you become a really good leader who has strategic thinking and who has the vision. So,
strategic thinking is of course a lot about, all of you are from technology backgrounds, and I think that's a huge upside that you already have going for you. I think just understanding trends, spending time reading, understanding where technologies are headed. I do subscribe to PitchBook, which is a great resource in terms of what's being funded, even though I'm not a startup entrepreneur now anymore myself, but just keeping in the pulse of what's being funded and why. Those are great ways to keep ahead of what are the trends in the market. On the softer side, I personally love to read a lot, and that keeps me really going and active and questioning what's happening. Is it the right thing? I was just talking to Archana, I think, about, hey, this whole generative AI, will we have things that actually tag content that says it's fake news or not? What's it going to do to society? I think those are all great things to be constantly questioning and thinking about as a leader. It's not just about your product, right? It's about the world too. Some of the podcasts I love are Pivot, which I'm hoping all of you see. It's amazing. I love Kara Swisher, and I think that just between her and Scott G, I think it's been an amazing podcast that they run. The other one so that's on the technology front, but the one that I also really love on the political front is by Ezra Klein. He talks a lot about politics, about the left and the right. He talked a lot about Israel and the war there. And so I'd love to get his perspectives and just kind of think deeply about those. And then just on the softer side again, on the books that I'm reading, we were just talking about Yuval Harris's new book, Nexus, which I'm midway through. It's a very long read, so I use my plane rides to read that. Very scary, actually, if any of you have read it.
Dystopian.
It's almost dystopian, as we were talking about. But really thinking deeply about, well, how is AI going to transform humanity, really, and where's that going, and how are we playing a part there, and how should we play a part there? I think it's
With
very
such a
critical.
busy schedule, where do you get the time to do all this?
I will tell you, car rides, car journeys are a big one, and the podcasts are all in the car, and books are all in the planes.
Perfect. I wanted to also ask you, before I open it up for questions, what advice would you give to emerging leaders about staying true to their vision and inculcating those habits into their own daily life?
Yeah, in fact, talking of books, I just read this book called The Confidence Code. I don't know if any of you read it. It's very popular. It's a very popular book. If you go through coaching, most of you will probably see it at some point or the other. And I was reading it, and I was thinking, wow, and Nidhi, you were talking a little bit about the confidence side, right? Like women tend to have less confidence, and it's so surprising to me that after all these years, like I have always felt an imposter, by the way. I still feel like an imposter even today. My CEO, Susan, used to tell me she felt like an imposter, and she was like the CEO of YouTube, and she felt like an imposter. And I read this book, and it's just like amazing how all of us women, or most of us, feel like imposters at some point or the other in our lives. And this book is really good in terms of just like helping us think through why that might be, and some of it is, they claim, some of it can be genetic, but a lot of it is just your own self, right? Like just overcoming it through your own self-training. And I think that would be my big advice to all of you, is understanding if you feel like an imposter, that hey, you're not alone, take comfort in that, but there are ways to get out of it, and so, just be true to yourself, believe in yourself, and find that group of, mentors, your village, that can really help you thrive and shine. So I think that would be my big feedback to all of you. And groups like these are the ones that can really be that support structure.
Cool. Let's open it up for questions. If you can introduce yourself, you can take my. Oh, okay.
Hi, thank you so much for this discussion. I'm Shreya Arora. I'm a IIT Gandhinagar pass out from 2019. We discussed a lot about success and your involvement with your teams. I wanted to understand, as a leader, when you fail and you have a team following you, how do you kind of gather yourself, your team? What is your advice to your team and to yourself to get up from there and then lead again? If you can give an example of something that may have happened in your life, or someone may have happened with them. As a leader, how do you get up again from failure?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's not easy, for sure. I mean, we all have failures in our lives. We don't talk about them so much, and maybe we should, because it kind of helps everyone else. I'll give you a personal example. When I first started at Google, I was a very lowly junior product manager, and the engineering leader there was very tough and very toxic, I would say. And it really put me in this spiral mode where I was going downwards, questioning myself. As it is, I had an imposter syndrome, and then this person being so toxic was just making me question my own skill set. And I remember that time my boss was leaving for YouTube, and he said, Shalini, I know you love TV, but I have this really great role for you at YouTube, and I think you'll be really good at it. Why don't you join me? And so I left this role that was the most coveted role apparently at Google, but I left it to join YouTube, which was an unknown entity at that time, only because of my boss. And it just was the right role, the right place, and I just thrived. And my biggest lesson from that is sometimes you kind of just leap into things that you don't know, And so failure can help you do that. Sometimes like just success, you might find that, maybe you hit a ceiling, but sometimes when you hit failure, like a pivot can take you in a completely different direction and you may leap into a new future success that you wouldn't have even imagined. And then number 2 is the community. Like in this case, my boss really trusted me and believed in my skills more than I did at that time. Like I was just like drowning and he was like, no, you've got it. Like I believe it. Here's what you can do for the company and for me. And so I think having that community is a big deal, whether it's your boss, whether it's a support structure, a mentor, just your friends who can like pick you up and say, no, you've got it. You can do it. I think those are the ways that I've done it.
I was also going to add that sometimes taking a risk is actually not a bad thing because it exposes you to it throws you out of your comfort zone and gives you an opportunity to learn something completely new. And you never know, sometimes, as Shalini said, spaghetti ball, it sticks. So,
yeah, we'll have that meme now, the spaghetti ball.
Yes.
Hello. I'm Sujata Tibrewala, IIT Kharagpur batch of 97. So my question is about workplace politics and cliques. So we all talk about diversity and inclusion, that difference in opinion and diverse opinion should be respected. But I'm sure each one has stories about where, there are some cliques in the management that, it's difficult to penetrate or, your opinion is not seen or heard. So any, advice on how to navigate that?
Do you want to say something?
And second part, you may try a lot of things and nothing works. So where is the point when you think, oh, it's not worth it? Let me just find another place. Or when do you have, okay, no, I can maybe make it work and there is some hope.
Were you going to say something? Okay. Maybe I'll answer your second question first. So your second question was around when do you know something is not worth it and you just leave. My experience has been, if you're still passionate about it and still excited about something that you're working on, you should stay and figure it out. But if you start feeling demotivated and it's affecting your confidence and it's affecting you mentally, like this example that I was just giving, like I couldn't sleep in the nights when I was going through that. And it was so toxic that it was just not worth it. Like it's not worth my life, right? Living through something like that. So for me, that's when I know that it's not worth it. It's just like, I'm not excited, it's demotivating me, I'm waking up in the night, it's affecting my health, not worth it, like move on. So that's how I think about moving on. In terms of company politics, I think that it's not really politics per se. Like the way to think about it is it's humans, right? It's people. You put 3 people in a room and there's going to be gossiping and there's going to be 2 people are going to ally together and 1 person is going to be left out, right? Like so that's how I think about companies, right? They're a bunch of people. It's not just like data driven, it's people driven. And so then who are your allies and who are those people who are looking out for you because they know and they value what you bring to the table? I think that's what becomes important. And so when you say there's an in group and an out group, I don't know what that actually means, but how do you make your group that is the in group? Like how do you make a group that you can trust and they trust you and therefore they pull you in? Like I talked about my boss who pulled me over to YouTube. How do you make that connection and have that group that vouches for you? And when there are opportunities, they open up that door for you. Some people call it mentors, some people call it sponsors. I think basically it's your ally, right? Who are your allies in your company? And that's up to you to go make that, right? You have to step up and figure out how do I make those connections happen.
I am getting told that I have 2 minutes more, so let's just take one more question.
Maybe that's the last one. Hi, I'm Momita, 2005 pass out from IIT Kharagpur. So starting from Kharagpur, there were 13 kids or 13 students, I was the only girl in the class. So even while asking question, you always think, is it the right question? Did everybody understand, not just me? So even now, when you're giving a presentation or doing anything, I feel like there's always an extra pressure of making sure, are you right, are you doing the right thing? But does this pressure ever go away, or at your level, do you still feel it?
You wanted to
No,
say
no, go
something?
ahead, go
Okay. I feel like there's always pressure, right? There's always pressure, and we've kind of grown up, like I was the only girl in 35 people, and I mean, I remember the professor was always looking at me, and so I always had to be the studious person while everyone else was in the back seat. So, but the pressure makes you stronger, right? It's what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Is that the song? Yeah, so I think that's how I always think about it. And, if you look at a lot of the women leaders now, they've been the onlys. The onlys are always the lonelies, but they come out stronger. And so I think that's how I would embrace it and just take it as a challenge. Like, it's going to make me stronger. It's going to make me better, faster, more agile. And, the world is opening up. Like, it was a lot harder when Meenakshi and I were, I think it was a lot harder, although people tell me it's harder in different ways. But in our generation, it was really pretty hard.
Of course it was.
And we really needed a lot of male allies. Now I think you have a lot of women allies too, who kind of understand the pressures that women have gone through. So I think take it as a challenge and
having a
keep
community
moving.
like this, I can't stress enough. You will be meeting people and making connections, and these are all going to be extremely helpful, valuable for you. I'm sure Shalini is going to be available after this as well. So let me try to wrap up, because I know there are other discussions also planned. So in summary, basically, I will say leading with vision is about providing the direction, inspiring your teams, inspiring action, and maintaining a focus on the future, keeping in mind how you want to navigate, figuring out where you want to get to, and bringing everybody along with you. So, any last piece of advice that you want to share?
I'm just going to add to that, which is, yes, I think the network really is very important if you haven't got that yet. I think events like these are amazing and huge, and you should all lean into it and make sure you collect everyone's cards or LinkedIns. I myself am part of many different organizations. Some of them are only women and some of them are mixed. But those have always been the ones that have supported me through different challenges. So I definitely feel like that's a big part of your leadership journeys.
That was my question. Thank you for answering.
Thank you, Shalini. Really appreciated your time.